right, am I on? Let me see. Okay. All right, I think I'm on. Okay, so I'm on both YouTube, oh, not YouTube. I'm on both Facebook and Zoom. I just set up the Zoom in case people want to talk to me live in real time. But anyways, I also have the Facebook live here, just so if you want to watch me there, if you also have comments there, you can check it out there. Anyways, you guys, but the Zoom link is up if you do want to talk to me in real time. But anyways, welcome you guys to day one of the Cut Your Cravings in the Holidays challenge. So this is just another version of the Cut Your Cravings challenge that I normally do. As you guys have seen, like a few months ago, we just finished one. I think it was in September, right? But normally I do one every quarter, and this time I'm doing one on the holidays because guess what, you guys? The holidays is a completely different beast. Hey, Larry. Hi, welcome. The Zoom link is in the announcements section of the Facebook group. So if you want to join on Zoom, it's in the emails that I sent you, and it's also in the announcements section of the Facebook group. So if you want to join me and you want to ask me questions live, you want to engage, come on in, join us. So anyways, this is all about day one. We're going to get you ready for the holidays, because if you're anything like me, you guys, you must have felt like the holidays was kind of like, a lot of people talk about the holidays like it's kind of like this helpless, like it's just kind of like something that happens to us where we are in a, like, we feel really rushed, we feel really panicky, we feel like overwhelmed, and so many things can be going on in the holidays. So this 5-day challenge is going to help you feel empowered this holiday season, so that no matter what happens, no matter what your family does, no matter what's going on when you're shopping, when you're getting ready, what's going on in your environment, you will be in charge of your wellness goals and your weight loss no matter what happens. And today I want you guys to pull up the challenge workbook. So that's also in the link is in the Facebook group at the top. When you press the announcements tab, you could download the challenge workbook. And I want you to pull up the day one section of the workbook so that you're ready to take notes, you're all in, you're ready to go, because we're going to be covering that worksheet here too. And I'm going to also share my screen so you guys could see it. But anyways, let me just share my screen really quick so you could see that book and how it looks like. But this is the challenge workbook. So all the worksheets you need for the challenge are in here. The only thing you guys have to do to win this challenge, you guys, is to post your homework in every single day of the Facebook group. So you're going to have daily homework assignments, and you just post your homework underneath the homework thread of the Facebook group, and you're going to see it right after this post. You're going to see in the Facebook group, so don't worry. And anything you need will be in the units tab of the Facebook group. So just press units. You'll see everything. You'll see a replay of the training. You'll see the homework tab and anything else you need. So all you got to do is do the homework for the day and post it under the homework thread for the day. So here is the homework. So the homework is right here for day one. And if you're joining me live, I'm going to have you do it with me in real time so you could just get it over with. So you could just get the action done. Because here's the thing, you guys. I could do so much this training, like in this challenge. I could teach you all the things. I could give you all the secrets. I could tell you what to do. But if you're not taking action and if you're not doing the homework, you won't be able to create your game plan for the holidays, and then you won't get ready for the holidays. So I want you to take action, like make that commitment to yourself right now that you're going to commit to doing the homework, that you're going to commit to making this game plan for you so that you can start changing your habits for the holidays coming up real soon. All right, guys, so give me a thumbs up in the comments if you agree. Even if you're watching in the replay, post and say, hashtag I'm in. Let me know that you are ready to make this commitment to yourself and to your self-care this holiday season. Larry says link is not working, but meeting ID is what I'm looking for. Oh, okay, the link's not working for him. Okay, so I'll fix that after today's training. Sorry, Larry, but you could join me on Facebook Live. I apologize about that, but I will put the meeting ID real quick. Actually, I could probably put the meeting ID right now. Hold on. Okay, here we go. I'll put it real quick. Thanks for letting me know, Larry. Nice to see you again after we just did a half-day retreat yesterday, and it was so much fun. It's all about how to stop stress eating. So, okay. Oh man, I hope the Zoom link was working. Okay. What happens when you press the Zoom link, Larry? What does it say? Okay, I'm putting it up right here. Hi, Malu. Hi, welcome. Okay. All right, Larry, I put in for all you guys, I put the Zoom meeting ID and the passcode there. So if you want to join me on Zoom, because I do want to make this challenge a little bit more interactive than my other challenges, I would want to like talk to you guys and kind of brainstorm with you and see what you want to do. So if you want to join me on Zoom, I'm going to put the meeting ID over here also. The Zoom meeting ID is, I'm going to put it in the comments, 871-6323-3704. And then the passcode is CYC. Okay, and it'll be the same room every day of the challenge, you guys. So thanks for bearing with me with the technology. I appreciate it. But all right, before we get started, you guys, get the workbook, grab the workbook, and then we are about to get started because day one is honestly the most important. So for you guys who are tuning in today, really pat yourself on the back, congratulate yourself, because today is the most important day. So if you miss all the other days of the challenge, which I hope you don't, but if you miss every other day of the challenge, this one is super important. So congratulate you guys yourself for being here. So day one of the challenge is all about how to be a boss at planning your Thanksgiving, planning your holidays, okay? And so, so I just want to get kind of a feel of what you guys are feeling right now. Like, how many of you guys are excited about the holidays, and how many of you guys are feeling anxious? Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, let me know if you're feeling anxious, like anxiety level 1 out of 10, 10 being the most anxious. And let me know how excited you are on a scale of 1 to 10. How excited are you about the holidays going in? Are you guys feeling confident? Are you guys feeling nervous? Let me know what's going on in your mind. Yay, Larry's joining us. Woohoo! You made it. It asked me to press join meeting blue button. Oh, weird. Okay. Yay, Larry, you're here. So I was just asking, how anxious or excited are you feeling about the holidays? You could post in the chat, or you could let me know and unmute yourself. But how are you feeling about this holiday season coming up? Are you feeling good or feeling kind of nervous?
I'll speak for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing much traveling because of the COVID, and I miss family and stuff, but I am visiting friends. And I did start your 6-week program, and actually I started the day off with a bunch of biscuits and some coffee, both things that I don't want to eat. So I'm anxious about starting to control my own food. And I do have 48 hours, which I'm going to be spending the night over at somebody's house for Thanksgiving. And then I'm also thinking maybe if I went on some camping trips and controlled my food that way, I'd be out in the middle of nowhere and I'd be able to get used to it better. So that's what it is for the holiday season.
All right, awesome. Thanks for sharing, Larry. And nothing's wrong with having that little bit of anxiety. Like, that's totally normal. And that's why, I made this challenge for all of you guys who are feeling nervous or anxious about it. So thank you for sharing that. So what I want to do in this day's training is the first step to helping you relieve that anxiety, to help you stop feeling that fear and to start being in control is actually to be a boss at planning. And let me know in the comments, you guys, or if you're watching here live too, Larry, let me know like what your thoughts are on planning. Like, do you love planning? What comes to mind when you think of planning?
I could tell you, I'll just tell you verbally, I'm not a fan of planning or commitment.
Join the club. That is like everybody. So I'm so glad you brought that up. Okay, because here's the thing. A lot of you guys, okay, and I can say this because I have been there and done that, but a lot of people believe that planning is kind of scary because it's like that commitment. It's kind of like saying, oh, I have to do this thing. Some people think it feels restrictive because it's kind of like saying, oh, but you're limiting your choices and things like that. But the thing that is so powerful though about planning is that when it comes to the day of, like when it comes to going to the party or doing something that you want to do, if you don't have a plan, the only issue with that is we're going to react. We're going to want to act based on our impulses. And when we act on our impulses, which is basically like we have this part of our brain that wants to focus on instant gratification. And so there's two parts of our brain. We have something called the primitive brain that wants to keep us alive. It's focused on fear, it's focused on survival. So we have this primitive part of our brain. And if we're not being in control of our brain, if we're not telling us what we want to do, if we're not like setting structure for ourselves, kind of like, if you go into work and you don't have a schedule for the day, it's going to be a disaster, right? Like, how many of you have gone to work and you don't know what to do? It's like a disaster. Like, or if you have kids, right? And if you, like right now in COVID, so many kids are doing their schooling at home. And the biggest thing that I see mothers doing is they have to give their kids a schedule or else their kids are going to go crazy and basically tear the house up. So you got to give your kids a schedule. You got to give a plan, or else you are going to be more likely to act on your impulses. Malu says, I love planning everything, but planning my food, it's really hard. Yeah, Malu, a lot of people struggle with the food planning. So in this training, I'm so glad you guys are here because I'm going to help you break down how the food planning can actually be really easy for Thanksgiving and how we can find a way to plan that feels good to us, that doesn't feel restrictive, that doesn't feel deprived, and will also help us stay focused on our goals. Because if we don't have a plan in place for the holidays, I'm going to be the first to tell you this, guys, but if you don't have a plan, your brain is going to want to react to eating all the things in front of you. It's going to act on the instant gratification. You're going to want to just eat everything that you see. We're drawn to foods with a lot of dopamine, and we have to control those urges. Like, we actually have to control our urges, just like if we have kids, right? Like, if we have kids, they're not taught these lessons that we're taught about food. Like, they're not taught that, like, they don't know yet that, oh, when they eat certain foods, it's going to make them gain weight or make them not be as healthy or whatever. They don't know that. So we have to actually, we have to help guide them. We have to kind of help manage, we have to help give them structure with their food. We have to kind of educate them on what food is most going to help them fuel their body. And then we have to give them that structure. So I want you guys to all imagine that the same exact thing is going on with your own brain. That if you don't have a game plan for the holiday, if you don't structure it, you're going to be kind of like a kid in the candy store or the bakery, kind of going around going like, ooh, and wanting all the things. So you got to have a plan in place. And so in this training, I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So one more thing is the only thing that a plan is, because it sounds scary for a lot of people, but the only thing a plan is just making a decision ahead of time. And that's it. Like if you look at the basics of planning, the only thing a plan is making a decision ahead of time. And so when you focus on it that way, it's not restrictive, it's not depriving, because you just want to make the best decisions for you from a place where you're not reactive, from a place where you're not just responding to all the sweets in front of you. And this is where your power comes from. Because when you're in this place where you are the one deciding what you want to do, and you are the one making conscious decisions, and you're deciding ahead of time before you even go to the party, when you're in that place, then the external circumstances like the environment won't affect you, because you're not going to change your decision even if things are going on in the environment. Like you have a plan, you're going to stick to it, and then following that plan is what will help you commit to your goals. So the thing is though, that makes it challenging is we got to make sure it's like there's some guidelines that will make a plan much easier to follow through. So go ahead, you guys, and pull up the day one workbook right now. And I want you to take notes on this, because again, we're all about taking action. If you're not implementing these steps that I'm going to share with you over the next few days, you're not going to make those changes in your life. So go ahead and pull up the workbook and write this down in the notes section. But the first thing you have to know about planning for your Thanksgiving is, first of all, you have to make a plan that is realistic. Well, first, sorry, scratch that. The first thing you want to ask yourself is, what is your goal going to be coming into Thanksgiving? And we're just going to focus on Thanksgiving now, because the same formula that you're going to do for Thanksgiving is the same thing you could do for every holiday. So ask yourself this. You could post this in the comments too. But what is your number one goal going to be coming in to the holiday, coming into Thanksgiving? Does that mean you want to, and it could be whatever you want. Your goal could be to lose weight. Your goal could be to maintain your weight, or your goal can be to gain weight. Okay, because some people will want to lose weight. Some people won't want to change it because they want to eat certain foods. And some people will actually probably want to gain weight because they do want to eat the food. But there's no right or wrong. But whatever one you decide, you got to pick one. You have to have a goal coming in. All right, Molly, you got a goal? My people on Facebook Live, pick your goal and post it in the comments. All right, and then the next step of planning, so you got a goal, and then the next step of planning is that you have to create a plan to achieve that goal. And it has to be a realistic plan that you are willing to follow. Okay, so let me say that again. Number two is it has to be a realistic plan, like a food plan that you know you could commit to easily. Okay, first one is set the goal. Number two, make the realistic food plan for yourself. And number three is that it has to be something you are willing to commit to. You need all three of those magical items to make your Thanksgiving successful. All right, awesome. Malu says probably maintain my weight. Awesome. And I'm in the same boat too. I'm not aiming for weight loss in Thanksgiving because my weight is basically at a weight I'm comfortable with. I'm just mostly going to focus on maintaining weight. So know that that's your goal, and then we're going to make together a realistic plan for you to achieve that. And then the third step is committing to that no matter what, committing to your plan. Okay, so how do you actually do this though? Like now that we've identified your goal, like how do you actually make a plan that's realistic? Like what the heck does that mean? So basically a realistic food plan means that you're eating food that, in my opinion, it means that you're eating food that you actually enjoy, like food that you know you're actually going to eat. Okay? Not food that you think you should eat, not food that you think you're supposed to eat, but food that you actually want to eat that is also going to help you achieve your goal. Okay, we're not about rules here. We're not about regulations and restriction. We're focusing on eating food that you want to eat, and and deciding from an empowered place. You're just deciding to eat that food to help you achieve that goal. So for you, Malu, what kind of food do you think, just to brainstorm a bit, what kind of food do you think you would eat to help you create that result of maintaining your weight? Like, can you kind of imagine what kind of food that would be, and how much of that food you would want to eat? And if you guys are not sure how much of the food to eat, this is my simple trick for eating in the holidays. So for example, my really easy meal for what I'm going to eat in Thanksgiving is, I just keep it really, really general, because sometimes you just don't know what's going to be at a party or whatnot. We're going to be going into that in a little bit, but so I keep it more general. So I make sure in every meal I have in the holidays, I make sure it has a meat, that it has veggies, and that it has fat. Like, that's the three main things that I have to make sure is in a meal, that there's a meat, veggie, and that there's a fat in there. And the good thing about Thanksgiving is that there's a lot of, it's a very like protein focused holiday. There's a lot of meats there. There's a lot of, turkey, and there's a lot of different meats that should be available. If you don't know what's available, we're going to go into that in a bit. But first, just kind of creating that plan for you. Like, make it really general, make it very simple. Just like, I'm going to eat meat, veggies, and fat. And then the next thing you want to do is decide how much of it to eat. So my simple hack for deciding how much to eat is, I eat when I'm hungry, and then I stop eating when I'm full. And full to me basically means like, I could tell in my stomach how that feels. Like, I don't feel bloated. Like, I don't feel like my stomach's not hurting, my stomach's not distended. My pants don't need to be unbuttoned. That's the biggest thing for me. I don't have to unbutton my pants. It also means to me that I don't have trouble breathing or anything like that. You just have to identify to yourself, up until what point do you want to eat. So for you, for example, Larry, I'm going to pick on you because you're here. Thank you for joining live. But can you imagine up until what point you, like, what that feels like for you, how it's comfortable to eat?
I will stay in my thought process and think like within the throat. I'll be thinking about if I'm hungry. So hunger comes from in here, goes to here, and I ignore everything else about being full. And then later in the day, then I'll have like acid reflux or something like that. So I am disassociated between the thought of being hungry and the physicality of being full. And also, I know people that they'll sit there and they'll eat and they'll go, "Oh yeah, I'm full." And I'm like, "But you got ice cream there. How can you be full? It's not empty." So I don't know how the people that eat until they're full do it. That's what I want to learn how to do.
Okay, awesome. So a simple tip that I have, it's also in the program that you got, Larry, but basically I go by the hunger scale. So it's like it's a way to quantify your hunger, kind of like the pain scale in the hospital that we ask our patients. So basically, you give your hunger a number. So I like to do it from -10 to +10. -10 is starving, and we could all imagine what that looks like, right? Like, maybe you haven't eaten for an entire day, or like a day and a half or whatever, and you feel so like, you feel your stomach grumbling, your stomach's grumbling so loudly, like it feels like, so like, sometimes I'm like sweaty. That's how it feels like for me. And then +10 is like stuffed, like out of your freaking mind. Like, like for me, that's where I would have to unbutton my pants. I would feel like my stomach is painful. It's full of food. I would feel like I have a hard time breathing. That's what like the positive 10 stuff looks like for me. And then in the middle is a 0. And in the middle of the 0, that's just basically like you're not hungry or full. So this takes a lot of tweaking for people though, because a lot of people, kind of like what you said, a lot of us aren't really in tune with hunger. A lot of us eat according to what's in our mind and not what our body's telling us. So to help us flex this muscle, I want all of you guys doing this in the this week in the challenge. I want all of you guys to practice before you eat any meal. I want you to practice where you are in the hunger scale. We're also going to talk about this a little bit more tomorrow. This is just a sneak peek, but you got to ask yourself, where are you in the hunger scale? And usually I recommend people to start eating at a -4 hunger, kind of like not starving, but not at a 0. You're like, you feel that pang of hunger in your stomach, but you're not like starving. And then you stop eating at a +4. That's where you feel like comfortable, but not like stuffed like a +10. So that's kind of how I quantify it. But you have to decide that for yourself though, in the party, in the event you're going to, like how much do you want to eat until, because you have to decide that for yourself so that you're in control of your food. You are deciding ahead of time how much you want to eat. And then once you hit that point, once you hit that number on the hunger scale, then you have to decide to stop. So that's kind of like, I know we went into hunger a little bit, but you got to be able to decide that ahead of time. Like, so for me, I'll probably eat at around like a +5 on the hunger scale. Like I won't feel too stuffed, but it's enough where I'll feel comfortably full. So Malu says, I can relate with the ice cream. So Malu, do you know where on the hunger scale you want to eat up until for your Thanksgiving or for your holiday meal? And that is what keeps it easy. So again, so for the meal, I eat meat, veggies, and I'll eat like meat, fat, and a veggie. I'll have carbs though. On Thanksgiving, I'm gonna have carbs, but I'm gonna give you a strategy so that you guys won't be too hungry in the party. All right, so decide that for yourself, you guys. Write that down in your workbook. Make sure you have that plan. And then I do have a strategy for, oh, I wonder if that's for tomorrow though. Let me see. Okay, I'm gonna talk about that tomorrow. I'm gonna tell you the strategy for how I stay full at a party. I'm gonna talk about that tomorrow. So for today, you guys, I want you to answer the questions on the workbook. Like, let's go get this done now so you could start just taking action and being comfortable. So you have a game plan. So I'm gonna share my screen and I want you guys to start answering the questions in the workbook and really start working that planning brain, working that part of your brain that creates plans ahead of time. So you could start at least get the gears turning, at least creating ideas for yourself on what you'll do to make a successful holiday for you. So grab that workbook real quick. I have it here on the screen. And the first question I want you guys to ask yourself is, what foods will you realistically prepare for your holiday travels? I put travels in case you're traveling, but if not, just basically what foods will you realistically prepare for your holiday? I recommend, if you want to maintain weight or lose weight, especially, I definitely recommend bringing your own food, because if you are eating food that your family's preparing or you're not sure what's going to be there and you only eat what's available, then basically it's so much harder to achieve your goal because you don't know what's going to be there. Like it's like going to the store and you need some milk and you're trying to go to the grocery store, but you don't know if the store has any milk, but you go in there anyway. And then it just ends up being a waste of time because then you don't know what items they have at that store. So to help you become really in charge of your goals this holiday season, I highly recommend that you do bring something, even a snack, like even something just like to help you at least stay on track with your goal, whatever that is. So some examples of things that I like to realistically prepare, which some of you might have seen. I did a recent Facebook Live and an Instagram on the meal that I'm making for Thanksgiving. I'm actually gonna cook the same exact thing for my family on Thanksgiving. So I just looked it up. I looked up sugar-free, low-carb meals on Thanksgiving, and I have to make it easy because that's realistic. If I prepare a dish that is complicated, I will not make it. Okay, so I only looked up really easy dishes that only had like 5 ingredients or so, not too many ingredients, and they only take 15 minutes to prep. That was like my criteria. So some examples of things that I cooked up was a low carb cornbread stuffing, this ribeye roast with rosemary and garlic, and then a keto broccoli salad. So those things were all really easy. I could share the recipe with you in the group, but you got to just be honest with yourself. Like, and if you don't want to cook, that's fine too. You don't have to cook, but you could even bring something like a rotisserie chicken, like something that's already made, or honey baked ham. You know, like I know it has some sugar, but if it's at least something you know you're going to eat, something that's going to help you stay full, you could bring like honey baked ham, whatever it is you want. Molly says, what happens when I stay a week? What happens when I stay a week at my in-laws? They get really offended when I take my almond milk or oats. Okay, so Malu, that's a great point because I know this is a lot of our fears with the holidays, especially mine. It's like, what will our family think? You know, what will they think? Are they like, they're gonna be upset? They're gonna be offended because maybe I'm gonna say no to their food, or maybe, you know, this and that. So what I want to ask you, Malu, is how can you prevent them from being offended when you communicate with them? Like, what can you tell them ahead of time to help prevent any conflict by the time you go there? Larry, do you relate with this in any way? Do you also anticipate any conflicts with family or any kind of like offending people or?
Well, I can relate because I've seen it happen a lot, and I don't necessarily understand why like my parents wouldn't want something in the refrigerator, not so much for me per se, because I'm if I go to my home, I'm going to my comfort foods, so I have to worry about that. But if I'm going with somebody else, they have what they eat, and I don't know I don't know if it's a I don't know if it's a Thanksgiving or a holiday or Midwestern cultural thing, but you got to eat what we eat because it's healthy, and it's like you go to the refrigerator, even in the refrigerator is not necessarily full, but for some reason, when you put your stuff in there, they're kind of like, what are you eating that not milk for? And why you, and almond milk is fantastic. So I'm not sure how to negotiate it. I would, this is the for my family, the thing that worked best is this is what I like. This is part of my diet. Sometimes I'll even say that my nutritionist or my doctor said, I have to have this stuff. But not making it personal, and and then, but I always eat some of the turkey and stuff like that anyway. So anyway, maybe that's too much information, but more of it's like, how do I respond to it than to what they say, than trying to get them to change their minds, because getting my dad to change his mind isn't something that's easy to do.
Oh man, I hear you. Thank you, Larry. Those are awesome. Those are awesome ideas. But yeah, because basically what he said is absolutely true. The thing is, first of all, not a lot of people eat sugar-free or low carb. That's already mind-blowing to like so many people. It's kind of like we're in this like alien species. Like that's how I feel sometimes. Like it's kind of like we're in this alien species. And when people see you eating this way, like I was the same way too. Like I thought it was impossible. Like 3 years ago, I was like, oh, there's no way in hell I could stop eating sugar like that. It's impossible. Like I felt like it just wasn't even a possibility for me. So when someone in your family sees that, you know, anything that they say, any remark that they have, it all has to do with their own belief systems about food. And so the thing is, we all have opinions, right? Like it's kind of like we all have opinions about the election. We all have different political views, different religious views. And it's so interesting. The same thing goes with food. Some people can be very, very passionate with their beliefs around food. And it's kind of like the question is just kind of like, how do you handle other people's opinions about anything else in life? You know, like your family will always have different opinions about everything. And how do you deal with that? Like sometimes it's just kind of like saying, you know, not taking it personally, but just understanding that they have their own beliefs about it and you have your own beliefs, and both of you can agree to disagree, you know. And also just communicating with them ahead of time, like kind of like what Larry said, letting them know, I'm doing this for a program, I'm doing this for a diet, or my nutritionist recommended this, or like just communicating with them that you eat in this way. And honestly, I feel like sometimes we're afraid to communicate because we're afraid that people maybe might judge us, or they might think they might not be willing to accommodate us. But the truth is, ever since I've done that, like anytime I go to a party, anytime I go to like, especially something with friends that's like, especially if it's a trip that's for a few days, I always tell them ahead of time. Like I say, I eat sugar-free, I eat keto, so I'm not going to eat the food that, like, I'm going to bring my own food. You know, I say it like that, and they're totally accommodating. And what actually happens is they actually end up being very supportive of me. And a lot of times my friends actually start cooking or bringing food just for me, because it's kind of like they start like they start really wanting to support me in my journey when I communicate with them. So oh, Malu says, good tips from Larry. Thank you, Larry, for those suggestions. And Malu also says, I remind them about my gluten-free issues and they sort of understand. And yeah, Malu, it's just like when you smoke, like if you're a smoker or not a smoker, right? Like if someone were to offer me a cigarette, I would say, no, thanks. I don't smoke, you know? So if someone offers me sugar, I'm just like, oh, no, thanks. I don't eat sugar. I just take that on as like an identity. Like I just am a person who doesn't really, I'm not eating that sugar, or I'm not eating what's not on my plan right now. And I just communicate with that with them. I let them know. And we're gonna do some role play later in this challenge. We're gonna do some role play, and I'm gonna pretend to be your family. So we're gonna stick around. That'll be later in the challenge this week. So that'll be fun. Okay, you guys, the next question is, what dishes can you prepare, or what food can you bring for your next holiday gathering? And don't overthink it, you guys. Like, again, it only needs like meat, fat, and veggies. If you want to bring a carb, that's fine too, just as long as it's something ahead of time. I see Larry laughing. Why is he laughing?
More of an eater. Not, wait, is it? More of an eater, not so much a cooker.
Right, but you don't even have to cook too. You could also buy, you could bring a lot of things. Like one of my favorite things to bring for Thanksgiving is bringing like basically like a charcuterie board, because it usually has a lot of meats and cheese. So I would bring that, and just, you know, not have crackers with it though. And then I would bring, like, you could already bring a prepared meat. Like again, rotisserie chickens is very easy. Or like if you bring a meat from a place that prepares meat, like Northgate Market, they make such great, like they make great carnitas or barbacoa. Like they make a lot of meat, or they have pork. So a lot of places, like, I mean, El Pollo Loco, a lot of places that prepare meat ahead of time, you could buy it there. So think about at least one thing, you guys. What is one thing you could bring? Like maybe cheese and meat, a salad. What might that be?
Pretty safe to bring a low carb, low sugar version of something like you would be eating anyway that might be there that looks like chips, something that looks like, bring hummus instead of their dip. Bring an alternative for them to try that fits your style better. I do that already. Like I'll bring hummus,
Oh, you'll
because
bring hummus?
people like to, and all of the dips have tons of sugar in them. So hummus better.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. That's great, Larry. Like, think of the alternatives you could bring that are basically similar to the holiday foods that will be there. Like again, the keto cornbread stuffing that I'm making, it's so easy to make. And literally, you guys, I think it's crack. I think it tastes, actually, it's the best stuffing I ever tried. I'm not biased at all, but it was the best like cornbread I ever made, and it was low carb. Anyway, even like for chips, you could bring a great substitute for chips is the cheese crisps, Parmesan cheese crisps. Those are basically only cheese chips. There's no flour in there. It's only cheese that's like dried up. So that one's a great alternative. Or pork rinds, that's a great alternative for chips. Pork rinds and guac is one of my favorite sugar-free or low-carb snacks. So those are really, really easy. Okay, and then I have some other questions here, like when are you leaving for your trip? And what date is your upcoming gathering? And also, you really want to decide what date are you going to put together all the foods and the drinks that you're going to bring and prep your dishes. So we are going to be powerful decision makers right now, like today. We're going to flex that decision-making muscle. So I want you guys to decide right now, like what date are you going to prepare and or buy all the foods that you need for your holiday gathering. Pick a date, look at your calendar really quick, and jot that down. For me, I'm gonna do it, I wanna do it like Tuesday night, like next Tuesday night, because I don't wanna shop when all the craziness is going on. Like, don't shop the night before Thanksgiving, and definitely don't shop the morning of Thanksgiving. You're gonna be screwed. So I'm gonna shop like Tuesday night. That's like my thing. And then I'm gonna prepare my meals on the morning of Thanksgiving. I'm gonna wake up early and prepare my meals. So let me know what you guys will do. All right. We have a date, Larry. Do you have an idea of what you're gonna do? Do you have a plan? All right, you guys. So that is day one. All right, awesome. Oh, Larry says, can you speak about how keto and pork rinds is opposite of cardio doctor recommendations? Oh, that's a great question, Larry. So a lot of people are afraid of fat, saturated fat. And the only thing first of all, I just want to explain what saturated fat means. Like saturated fat is basically like fat that's like solid at room temperature. Because, unsaturated fats are things like oils, the things that like, it's the type of fat where at room temperature, it's like liquidy because the carbon hydrogen atoms are like not as linked compared to a saturated fat. It has more, I hope I'm explaining, it's like it has more carbon hydrogen atoms, bonds, so it's more stuck together at room temperature. So that's the only difference between saturated and unsaturated fat. And so there's this belief that saturated fats are linked to heart disease. And so that's why, because there was this scientist named Dr. Ansel Keys, and he was the scientist that came up with the diet heart hypothesis. And he came up with this in the 1950s, basically. But he did research that basically said that the countries, he did something called the 7-country study, and he basically said that the countries that eat more saturated fat tend to have more cholesterol, tend to have higher cholesterol levels, and those people tend to die of heart disease. He made like this correlational study. The only problem with that study, like when he did that, everybody agreed. Everybody thought it was the truth. The American Heart Association adopted it. The USDA guidelines adopted it. Like our government took on these dietary recommendations. But the only problem is that study wasn't based on actual evidence. It was a cherry-picked study. He actually cherry-picked the countries that basically proved his hypothesis. But the truth is, the actual study had, I think it had like 42 countries. I forgot. But he only focused on the 7 that proved his theory true, something like that. So anyway, it wasn't a well-done study, but people thought it was true. And then now we have this belief that saturated fat leads to heart disease. But long story short is that now that we've done a lot of randomized controlled trials, a lot of high quality experiments, like all these high quality experiments and research don't show any link between saturated fat and heart disease. It's more of a myth. And it, like, cholesterol doesn't link, it doesn't lead, that's not what causes heart attacks. It's not the cholesterol buildup. It's more related to inflammation in our arteries. Like when you're inflamed, when your arteries are inflamed and then it's damaged, that's what leads to the plaque buildup. It's not because of cholesterol being high. So anyway, that's just a breakdown, but I could give you some of the studies if you want to see that. But basically, it's still just under this idea that saturated fat leads to heart disease, even though it wasn't, it was just like a widely accepted fact, even though there was no evidence for it. But Dr. Ansel Keys was very convincing, and he's a very good marketer at his hypothesis. But yeah, Larry.
Okay, I was just it's just that every once in a while you mention something to eat, and I go, oh, like even when I did my first I did the fire walk with Anthony Robbins. He was, his diet back then, and I want to find the old materials, but his diet back then was don't even put a hamburger in your mouth. Your heart's going to change, immediately. And I don't know that. I know that he is a person that changes, but I don't know how it changed so drastically that having a bacon, not a bacon wrap. Well, actually, even a bacon wrapped hamburger is okay. How did that happen?
It's really a mindset shift. It's kind of like being, it's kind of like being told all your life that it's almost as if, you're told all your life, oh, like for me, I like to imagine it's like, I'm a woman, but it's kind of like, I imagine it as if someone just went up to me and say, hey, did you know, by the way, that you're not a girl? Like you're actually a dude. I'm like, what? Like that's how it feels sometimes to me. But the thing is, when you actually look at the science and the studies, it really does not show proof of that. And so also the studies are very faulty because the subjects that they take on, they don't actually test for low carb very well. Like the people are eating still a good amount of carbs, and then they're also like, that's the thing too, I forgot to say, high fat is good for you if you're eating low carb, but if you're eating high carb and high fat, that's where people get into problems with the heart issues and stuff, because you don't want to do both, because carbs are, if you eat too much especially, they're going to build up more fat in your body, and they could be also very inflammatory depending on the kind of carbs you're eating. So that combination is not good. That's why you shouldn't eat, like, obviously, like too many sweets, like too many things that are high fat and high carb. So
All right, well,
you do want to do low sugar. Oh, go ahead.
I'm just getting started, and so it's kind of it'll be hard enough to do stuff on my own, but I'm planning for 24 to 48 hours at a friend's house.
Mhm.
And I'm already thinking, well, yeah, throw some of the turkey on there with some of the skin. Stay away from the the favorite mashed potatoes with garlic. Um, and I don't know, just identifying the things at Thanksgiving that are good and bad for you would be interesting for me. So that's what I'll be
Yeah.
working on. I mean, I'll go back to the original materials you have and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, like having that plan, like really just knowing ahead of time what you're gonna eat, and yeah, like definitely there are great alternatives for the foods too, like the mashed potatoes. Like there's cauliflower mashed potatoes, like uh, yeah, cauliflower mash or whatever. But yeah, like you could look up a lot of like Thanksgiving alternatives and things like that. But yeah, having that plan in place, the biggest part of it that might be a challenge is just like committing to the plan you come in with, like really committing to, okay, I'm gonna just have this and this, and that's what we're gonna talk about more in this challenge. But that's why you also really want to make sure you're planning food that you really do like if you do like turkey with skin, like it's easy for you to commit to it. Like if you do like eating pork rinds with guac or eating the hummus, and you enjoy those, that will be a lot easier to follow through versus if you bring just like a salad that's boring and you hate it, then of course you're not going to want to eat that, and you'll probably eat more that you didn't want to eat in the party. Yay. All right. So yeah, just think about that. For everyone watching, like just kind of have that game plan. And I really like this really quick. I'm just gonna share with you really quick. Like there is a strategy I have so that you're not too hungry when you go in. Like I would even recommend, like before you even go to the place, like I would recommend you eat something. Like before you even go somewhere, just have something in your stomach so you're not like ravenously hungry. So you're not like even more tempted to overeat, because when you're hungry, your input, like your decision making, your ability to make decisions will be overridden by your survival focus. You're going to want to eat more. So I would even recommend make sure you're really full, have something before you get there, have plenty of water, snacks, like sugar-free snacks if you need to, and then just ask yourself, how can I make it super easy to just commit to my plan when I get there? Like what foods can I bring that I love, and things like that. But all right, you guys, I know we went over a lot. We covered a lot in this one, but planning, honestly, this is the most important step of this whole process. If you don't have a game plan, it's going to be like you're going to go in there like a kid in the candy store. Like you really have to have a structure. You have to plan it out so your brain doesn't go so reactive to everything around you. All right, but does anyone have any other questions before we go? Do you guys have a good idea of what you'll do? You feel good, Larry?
Yeah, I've got it. I had a couple technical questions for you later, maybe, but I don't know how to go over that. So when I joined on Zoom, Zoom said I was in Facebook, but when I went back to Facebook, it cut me out of comments. So I don't know if comments were turned off on my end or your end or what. So I don't know what other people
Oh,
on Facebook said. And I was trying to share the 1 hour with people from Facebook. I'll go on and try and get more people in a watch party.
mm-hmm. So when you went on Facebook, the comments disappeared?
Yeah, I could only
Oh,
see mine. Comments are closed. That's me
oh,
though. I
weird.
think it's my end. It's a very, very bizarre day.
Oh,
So
okay.
I needed the meeting ID in order to log in from my app on my iPad. And
Mm-hmm.
then I found you on Facebook, and then Facebook put you up full screen and only allowed like the little blurbs. And those disappeared after I logged into Zoom. And Zoom said I'm on Facebook Live. So interesting. I don't know if you care about that or not, but you know, Not having the meeting idea, but having just the link didn't work for me.
Okay.
And it's very subjective to browser servers and stuff like that. So having the meeting
Okay.
idea literally laid out for you and you know, on the email might help me. I don't know.
Okay, I'll check. I'm so sorry. Like, I'll check the link.
Nothing to be sorry
I'll
about.
make sure it's good.
I'm just trying for people involved, and not just
Yay.
myself, but thank you for getting the meeting link to me so quick.
Oh,
I don't know how you, I don't know how you do the social media thing. It's answering all the
oh,
emails
thank
and running things. So, you know, I'm learning. I'm just mentioning it. Nothing to be sorry for.
Oh, thank you so much, Larry. I appreciate that. I'll double check the links. I'm glad you brought it to my attention because other people might be experiencing the same thing. But I will correct the link on the Facebook group, and then I'm sending out emails, so you're gonna get like an email reminder with the Zoom. Have you been getting my email reminders or?
Yeah, I worked off of your email reminder and I tried 2 different browsers and tried copying the link, but the link actually was you know, it could be my, you know, how do I use the iPad kind of stuff, but I've been using my iPad for a while and it's not it's not a right click copy the link and put it into another browser kind of thing. It just zooms straight off to a web page in whatever my default browser is. I use Safari and DuckDuckGo and Chrome. Those are things available to Mac. And
Oh,
so just tried all 3.
oh, geez, dang, you're dedicated. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll check
I'm
Zoom.
just curious. Just
Oh, thank
curious.
you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for joining us on day 1, 2. I'm so glad to see like you're determined. I love I love that you're just going right into it. You're learning all the things. So thanks for being
Oh
here
yeah,
on day
I
1.
got up this morning. I got up this morning and ate 90 carbs, 500 calories, and 400 milligrams of sodium in
Mhm.
biscuits. And the only reason it was so little, quote unquote, was because I went out of my way to find low carb biscuits. So I got a lot of work to do, but I would have never written this stuff down um, before today. But today's the day I start writing it down.
All right. I love that. I love that you're going for it and taking action and like you're implementing, which is the hardest thing. Most people don't take the action. They just, they learn, but then they don't actually do things. So I love that you're taking those steps and keep that momentum going though. The more you're taking action, the more you're actually doing the process, that's where you'll start seeing the changes. So keep that up.
Okay, you're about ready to run out of time on your end. I don't know what you have going next, but I appreciate your time very much.
Oh, thank you, Larry. I appreciate it. And I hope you have an amazing day today. Thanks for joining.
Okay, I look forward to getting healthier.
All
All
right,
right,
me
take
too. Bye.